Hello again, friends. Welcome back. This is Mike. Today's topic is, where is Jesus? And this has to do with all of the souls that are coming through my medium friend, RM, and where Jesus fits into this. You know, I was raised Catholic. If you're raised Christian, certainly you believe in Jesus, and your whole redemption is wrapped around accepting Jesus as your personal Savior, and that He'll be there when you die and you go to heaven. And so I've been asking souls as they've come through, where is Jesus? Have they seen Jesus? And I'd like to point out that this podcast is not solely about Christians or Christianity, but of course that's my frame of reference. So, first of all, to state up front, my friend, the medium, RM, she has not seen Jesus. He has not appeared to her in any of the souls that have come through. Usually when a soul comes through uninvited, basically they just show up. But when a soul comes through, they appear. She can see them. Usually it's the version of the way they want to look. So all of my relatives that have come through, maybe 8 or 10 of them, they come through in a much younger version. I've gone back and shown her pictures of the way my grandfather looked when he was in his 20s, or the way my uncle looked when he was in his 20s. My parents are very young when they come through. And I think that in my experience with all that's going on right now, I think that souls have the ability to decide what they want to look like when they present themselves to this other side of the veil, if you will. And so generally they look young and they're living their best life. So she has not seen Jesus. Now here's what I've discovered through the many souls we've interviewed. First of all, there is this period called life review that everybody seems to go through. Is this universal for all souls? I do not know. All I know is maybe 20, 25 people that have come through now, my relatives, her relatives, people that neither of us know, many people whom we've been able to verify as she's talking to me. I can look up their obituaries online and confirm everything she's telling me. Who they were, when they were born, when they died, where they lived, their relative's name, their wife's name, how they died, like in an accident or something. There was a newspaper article. So it's pretty amazing. But the consistent theme is that they die. There's some period of transition where they're hovering above their body or watching what's going on. Then they move to where they meet a greeter, a soul greeter, a soul as in S-O-L-E, sorry, a soul greeter, like their mother, their father, their grandmother. My son, for example, when he passed away in 2020, he told us that he was met by his grandmother, my mother, and that she took him by the hand and led him to life review and explained to him what was going on. So that particular theme has been consistent throughout this period, all these souls. Now, I always ask them, have you met Jesus? And here's the difference. The souls who are in life review, because even when you're in life review, you can apparently come back and visit this side of the veil. The souls who are in life review have not seen Jesus. The souls who are out of life review have met Jesus. And oddly enough, one of them said, we don't call him that. We met the person that you think is Jesus or you think of as Jesus, but that's not his name here. I don't know what that means. I'm going to try to ask more souls about that. But that's been the big difference. Now that tracks pretty closely with the theme of purgatory. Again, I've talked about purgatory. The souls do not call it purgatory, but this life review thing tracks very closely with what the Catholic Church teaches is a period of purification that we all go through before being admitted into heaven or paradise. So the souls who are in life review do not know, they may know Jesus, I guess, but they have not met him. And the souls afterwards have met him. And that's the key difference. I would mention one thing about my son, and I've talked about this in another couple of podcasts, but my son passed away in 2020. When he passed away, he was at an ICU in a hospital, and we made the gut-wrenching decision to disconnect him from life support. And when we did that, we, of course, were standing at the foot of his bed. I was actually stroking his hair and his head, and we watched him die in about 15 minutes it took for him to pass after he was disconnected from all the things that were keeping him alive. and that was excruciatingly painful. And he's told us that he was there watching us go through this. He was above his body. He saw us in the room. He saw him disconnected. He saw us crying, and he thanked us for all that. But then he said he moved and suddenly found himself in a very simple church with pews and wooden pews and a center aisle. And down the center aisle came this man clothed in a white robe and a beard, brown hair. And his description, now he was telling us this while he was still in Life Review. His description of this person certainly matched my understanding of what Jesus looks like. And so I asked him, have you met Jesus? And he said, no, he had not. And that kind of concluded that particular session with Matt. But later on, so that was maybe 6-7 months ago, he was still in Life Review. My mother came through a couple weeks ago and she said, Matt, my son, is done with Life Review. And I said, has he met Jesus? And she said, yes, he has. And then she told me, without me even asking, she said, he met him earlier, but he did not know it was Jesus. That fascinated me because it reminded me of the story in the Bible. You know, when Jesus is crucified on Good Friday, next day, I think it is, the disciples, some of his disciples are walking on the road to a town called Emmaus in wherever it was then, Israel, I guess. And the disciples were talking to Jesus, and they were asking him, have you heard about all the events that took place in Jerusalem? And he said he had not. And so they talked a lot about this, and they did not realize they were talking to a man that they had known and spent time with. And suddenly he revealed himself, and they realized who he was, and he disappeared. So I think that may have been the same thing my son experienced. He spent time with Jesus, but he didn't know it was Jesus, and now he does. So when I ask the question, where is Jesus? What I mean is, where is he in this plan that seems to be unfolding as I interview these souls? I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to interview souls and ask them, are you in Life Review? How long did it take you to get through Life Review if you're done? Who was your greeter? Have you met Jesus? What is it like where you are? There's a lot of stories about, and I'm not going to use it on this particular video, but a lot of things I've learned about what souls are doing as they're done with Life Review. One last thing too about Life Review, you can't apparently come back to this life to talk to somebody on this side until you've reached a certain point in Life Review. I don't think it's time related. Time is different there. You know, everybody says that, but Spirit has told me that time is different there. But there are some souls that are there that can't talk to us. My grandfather, for example, has been there for a long, long time. My grandmother said he can't talk to us because he's still in Life Review. Whereas Matt reached a certain point, he came back. My medium friend, RM, one of her relatives, she was told that he could not talk to her because he was in Life Review. And then just last week, he came through. And she said, I'm surprised to hear from you. And he said, I'm at a point now where I can talk to you. So, again, is that a universal truth? I don't know. Is it certainly not doctrine? A lot of this stuff would have got me burned at the stake probably a couple hundred years ago. But it's what's happening. It's what I'll share with you. If it interests you, please, I encourage you to, subscribe wherever you're seeing this. Subscribe, follow, however that works. And you'll continue to get updates as I do this. Thanks again. Bye-bye.